Right, what I want to talk about relates to psychon, or the psychology relating to combatives, but also to life in general. And that's language, how you use language. Right? So, how you use your own internal dialogue, how you think and communicate to yourself, and how you use communication outwardly to others. So, understand you have an internal representational system, which is how you see you to yourself. And then you have an external representational system, which is how others see you or perceive you from what you put out. A big part of that is language, how you communicate. Now, the conscious use of language, meaning thinking about the words that you speak and say, is really important on all levels. So when you are speaking outwardly, you are in fact casting spells that create a reaction. Spelling is the casting of spells. So using language has an effect. So if you constantly talk derogatory about yourself, you're always going to feel derogatory about yourself. If you constantly talk derogatory about other people, you're going to be known for that. If you're constantly moaning about your life, when somebody says to you, how you doing, and all you do is give them a life story of doom and gloom, then you'll find people won't want to be around you. They want to avoid you. Conversely, if you're really kind of buoyant in your attitude and happy-go-lucky and constructive in the things that you say, and you make people feel good around you by the way that you communicate, you'll find that your social circle will be much greater than if that wasn't the case. But my point is, how you communicate with language, so how you internally use language, your internal dialogue, how you think, I've said many times before, affects how you feel. How you feel affects what you do, and what you do affects the results you get back. Now, these strategies have been around forever, and you'll find them in more modern terms in neurolinguistic programming and NLP. But using language in your everyday life can be used to your advantage and to your disadvantage. So, like me, I grew up in a rough area, left home in school early, got involved in various things that involved gangs. And as a youngster, in my early work, I always worked on civil engineering, building sites, railway with lads, where swearing or cursing was the norm. And I swear a lot. I use profanity in my teaching because it's part of contemporary combat. And I probably use it a little bit too much in my social life. But what I've come to realise is that swearing is just that. You are cursing. So it creates a derogatory effect. So how you consciously use language is really important. But here I'm going to apply it to the combative trainee, somebody who is training to learn how to protect themselves in a physical sense, and also to self-protection combatives instructor who wants to teach others how to protect themselves. Language is very important here, particularly in the teaching element and how you communicate to yourself. So as a first example, let's use the terminology describing who you would be seeking to defend yourself against. Quite often people will use the term opponent. I understand opponent belongs more in a sporting sense. It is your opponent, where two competitors are opposing or imposing their will against each other to see who comes out the best. So your opponent is your opposition. It indicates to me more of a sporting kind of idea, as opposed to your adversary or the aggressor that you are dealing with or having to deal with. Now, here's where an understanding needs to be made. So opponent indicates to me a sport kind of element. Combat sport is your opponent in boxing, in Thai boxing, in MMA, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Whereas if somebody is accosting you in the street, being aggressive, then of course they are an aggressor and your potential adversary. So straight away it kind of indicates the more seriousness to the situation. However, if you think about this individual as an aggressor, you are in fact empowering him. So as a self-protection or self-defense instructor, defense is another term that you want to get a good understanding of, but never set up a drill where you say, okay, this is your attacker, or this is the aggressor, and you are the victim. Because you are empowering the aggressor on a subconscious innate level in the trainee's mind, and you are disempowering the trainee who has to deal with the aggressor by calling him a victim. So instead of that, you can use different terminology, right? You can use terminology that elicits no emotional content or no emotional response at all. So instead of calling, like, you're the victim, you might say, you are a selected target, which is neutral, has no emotional content attached as such. And the person that's giving you a problem is problematic subject, or simply subject. Problematic subject is, again, neutral. So I would set up a drill, right, you are selected target, this is problematic subject, as opposed to, right, you are the victim, this is the aggressor. Okay. If I wanted to place your thinking in a more predatory direction, I would say you are selected target and this is your meat puppet. Or simply, I would say you are selected target and he is meat. This would be a good example of now straight away on a subconscious level and an innate level, changing how you think about the event. One victimizes you, empowers the other, relatively neutral. Final example, empowers you and is derogatory and disempowering to what you're about to face. I put it to you that the latter is more useful in terms of how you think pre-fight, before the event. And it also shares the commonality of how the majority of people think, either on a subconscious level or a conscious level, who are good at violence. So a repeat offending violent criminal only thinks about what he's going to do. Doesn't give a fuck about what you're going to do. A hard man of reputation is focused on what he's going to do, not on what you're going to do. A spec ops operative, a soldier that is a door kicker that has to go in and take out the bad ilk, let's say, will be mission focused on what he's going to do. Will take into account anything that you could do and will have mitigated as best he can, but will only be mission focused on his goal, not on what you're going to do. So this begins with how you communicate to yourself, and it begins with how you use language. Okay, now I want to look at the term defense. Defensive, defending, self-defense. Well, the term belongs, but it doesn't belong in your training and it doesn't belong in your thinking. So I remember Dennis Martin telling us years ago, if you are defending, you are fucking losing. Defending is the art of losing slowly. So if you are defending, you are losing. So the term self-defense indicates to me that you are under physical assault and you are now reacting to something somebody is doing to you in a combative sense, which is never the ideal because action always beats reaction. And all warfare knows that the best defense is a fucking good offense. That's why primarily in UC what we teach is geared around avoidance, de-escalation and escape. And if that's not possible, that's made possible by your street smarts or your personal security measures. If that's not possible, then there are two dynamics available to you for violence. As long as awareness is in place and as long as you see the potential threat before it's on you, in most cases will create the opportunity for some kind of proactive or preemptive action. As long as you have awareness in place, and this allows you to cultivate and implement the skill of pre-threat cue recognition, and you spot the early precursors before the physicality of violence unfolds before you, this will create the opportunity for you to be proactive or preemptive. And in short, that means do something before they do something. That could be turn a corner and run. It could be shove somebody away posture as you move away. It could be to preemptively strike. It could be to preemptively restrain, or it could be to preemptively blitzkrieg. But my point is, you will create for yourself the opportunity to take initiative and then exploit initiative. So now you are the feeder in a relationship and the subject is reacting to what you're doing, not the other way around. Of course, that's not always possible. And if you are caught with somewhat lax awareness and your response is late, then you can indeed find yourself reacting to something somebody is doing to you, which we call counter-offensive. I'm either going to be offensive, which is me, more of me, finished, or I'm going to be counter-offensive, which means I've made a mistake, I need to mitigate what you're doing to me first, and I'm going to bring the fight back to me. So that would be you, me, finished. But what I'm not thinking is along the lines of defensive, which is you, more of you, I'm fucked, finished. That's how that pans out in my head. So if you are defending, you are losing. So to use this term self-defense in your thinking and your training from a combative perspective is doing you a disservice. The term self-defense belongs when you have to mitigate your defense post-event to a police officer or in court. That's where it belongs. And that should be within the realms of what you did as reasonable and necessary, and you had the honest belief that your life was in danger. And now you are defending yourself. And preemption can be used within the context of that and understood in court as self-defense. But the action of thinking about defending, I'll wait for somebody to attack me, or I'll wait for confirmation that the attack is about to take place, well, that will always come in the form of injury to you, which is too late. The bottom line is, in all warfare, the one that goes first with the most is the best. And that principle doesn't come from martial arts. That principle comes from warfare and criminality. That's why the favoured method of assault in the street is ambush, as you don't see it coming. And you're assaulted, and then initiative is taken and exploited, and you are on the losing end of that. So using the term self-defense indicates to me that you have no understanding of that. Right? So the term self-protection allows us more options. So if you use the term self-defense, it indicates to me that you are under assault already. The other side has the initiative, they are exploiting the initiative, and you have to fight possibly tooth and nail. So if now you are defending yourself, means you're under attack. If you've been attacked, what happens next depends on where you've been attacked, how badly you're hurt, and whether or not you can break the emotional freeze to get back in the fight. There's a lot of what ifs there. But if I saw it coming and I had the opportunity to be preemptive, well, now I'm utilizing the adrenaline that I'm going to feel, and I'm doing something in a practice sense that's making the other side react to me. So I'm operating a much tighter OODA loop inside of their OODA loop. They are orientating and to what I'm doing to them, not the other way around. That's the ideal. So using the term self-protection indicates that there's parameters in place before the physical happens. Self-protection indicates that you have awareness, there's a radar, there's a pre-threat cue understanding that may allow you to avoid, de-escalate or mitigate the situation, or at least place yourself within to create a physical and verbal boundary so that you have a platform to be proactive and preemptive. Whereas if you are using the term self-defense, you had none of that in place. And now you've just been attacked and have to react. And of course, action will always beat reaction. So the term self-defense as opposed to self-protection has impact on your thinking. And like I said, how you think affects how you feel. How you feel affects what you do. What you do affects the results you get back. Finally, how you communicate with yourself about violence in general is very important. So I'm a firm believer in using visualization, crisis rehearsal, pre-planning, having personal mantras, various things that would allow me to reprogram my thinking towards a more productive outcome, if you like. So in terms of how you think before the event can make a massive difference to how you perform in your outcome. So I'll use several scenarios when I'm teaching psychon, the psychology of combat. In terms of pre-fight perspective, how you think and communicate with yourself before the event. So imagine that you were in an elevator, two individuals got into the elevator's in transit, both of them were clearly intoxicated or coked out of their head. They start punching the walls of the lift, talking about how when they get up to the third floor, mate is going to get the fucking shit kicked out of him. So they're hostile, and there's a bad energy inside of that trapped box that you are in. Oh, such a situation, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So if you look at the floor and you don't make eye contact, you may appear scared. If you accidentally make eye contact, you may get the classic, what the fuck are you looking at? Now it's directed at you. So it's a potentially confrontational situation that will elicit an adrenal response in you. How you feel now, how you communicate and think now, what language you use to yourself now will decipher the outcome. If you think to yourself, oh fuck, I'm trapped in here with these two, I'm fucked. Self-fulfilling prophecy. You're already fucked. Whereas if you preordain or pre-plan to have some kind of mildly sociopathic response to model, such as these two cunts are stuck in here with me, very, very different. If you're walking down an alley and you see, you shouldn't be walking down alleys, of course, but if you walk somewhere and three people are walking towards you and they look somewhat menacing and you can't turn and run, if your thinking is, oh my God, there's three of them, I'm fucked. Again, you're fucked. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Instead of that slightly sardonic, sociopathic, alter ego part of yourself that can handle violence would think about it in another way. Multiple target opportunities. Golden opportunity to test my tools. You think you pay 450 fucking euros for a bob with no arms, that doesn't respond in any way, that just gives you anatomical targeting when you hit it. But now, you got three walking, talking meat puppets that will interact with you, that will be non-compliant, that will allow you to have the golden opportunity to test your skills. And the fact that there's three of them is a potential level 10 threat, giving you the carte blanche to be combatively efficient. So, again, different perspective. Which one do you think is going to be more useful to you? Oh my God, there's three of them, I'm fucked, or multiple target opportunities. So just some food for thought for you as a combative trainee about how you think about things and about how you structure your class and use language in a class if you're an instructor. These elements are the difference, in my opinion, the difference that make the difference. Because everything is programming. Everything is programs that are run. If you run a program that makes you feel lacking in confidence in yourself, it's probably down to your dialogue. And the actual program that you're running that makes you feel lacking in confidence in yourself is a perfectly functional program. It just doesn't give you what you need. So reprogram your thinking, refire and rewire how you use your thoughts and how you implement your thoughts, and recognize when you are using derogatory, negative internal dialogue, and look at ways in which you can shift it. And when you do that, what you will also notice is that your physiology will change. Because how you think and communicate with yourself affects how you feel, which has an effect on how you hold your body. Hence, when I said in the beginning, we have an internal representational system of how we represent ourselves to ourselves, which in turn affects the mirror side coin of that, the other side of the coin, which is our physiology and how we hold our body. So if you're lacking in confidence and feel scared, your body will depict this shrunken demeanor. Conversely, if you are confident, you'll lift your sternum, lift your head with a confident gait and a brisk pace if you feel that way, and your physiology will change. So put your physiology where you want your mind to be. If you go fake it till you make it, then fake it till you make it. If you've got to put on the suit and it's a little bit big, then keep wearing it until it's tailored. So if you were to stand with a confident gait, walk with a brisk pace, poker face, make eye contact frequently, not be embarrassed or frightened to communicate with people, and speak boldly, act boldly. I'm not saying that you should in any way be aggressive. Only be assertive when you need to be. You should be the grey man, but the grey man gets bypassed in terms of victim selection because of a confident body language profile. If he's holding a confident physiology in terms of his body language, there's a good chance that the mirror side of that coin, his thinking, is also positive. Look at people that are down and depressed. Their body language is below eye line, hunched over. If you stood up straight, draw a chalk line on a blackboard and put somebody that felt upset, miserable, lacking in confidence, down day. We all get down days. And if you stood them up, they wouldn't initially be stood up straight. They would be living their life below eye line. Conversely, if you drew the same eye line when somebody was stood up straight and you approach that chalkboard line with them in a good mood, upright, buoyant, happy-go-lucky, excited about something, confident, pleased that they've just had success in some way, then their eyes would be above eye line and the physiology would reflect the mood. So, like I said, these kind of things are the difference that make the difference, and they all relate to the psychology of violence. How you use language is huge in life. So I would suggest to you, be conscious about how you use language. Be conscious about how you talk about yourself and think about yourself. Be conscious about how you speak about others. If you notice you use profanity all the time, strive to do something about that. If you notice you're always cup half empty, well, try to do cup half full. But particularly in terms of what it relates to here, what we're talking about is how you think about in terms of dealing with violence or dealing with aggressive and violent people. If you want to be able to control the adrenal effects of stress, fight duress, and put that to one side so that you can actually access your physical skills should you need to, then you need to get your head right. You need to put your head in the right place. And a big part of that comes from how you communicate.